Before we start, everything you're about to hear is historically verified. We use AI only to bring history to life visually. The facts, the numbers, the human cost, all real, all sourced. This is HistoryBilled. November 23, 1972. Baikonur Cosmodrome, Soviet Kazakhstan. A rocket lifts off. 105 meters tall, nearly 3 million kilograms of steel and fuel and ambition. The most powerful first stage ever built. It flies for 107 seconds, further than any attempt before it. Then a fuel line ruptures. Kerosene hits hot metal. Fire spreads through the engine block. 7 seconds later, the rocket is gone. No Western journalists saw it. No TASS bulletin reported it. No Soviet newspaper ran a story. No one was fired. No one was named. This was the 4th time this rocket had exploded. The 4th time in 4 attempts. And the world would not learn any of this for almost 20 years. How much did the Soviet space program actually cost? That's a harder question than it sounds, because the Soviet Union spent decades making sure you couldn't find out. Stick around until the end. That's when we get to the bill, and it's not what you'd expect. It's the late 1950s. You're a young engineer. You graduated near the top of your class. Someone noticed. You receive a train ticket. No destination printed on it. Just a route number. You pack a bag. You don't ask questions. Asking questions is not something you do. The train takes you into the steppe. Flat, dry, empty in every direction. You arrive at a city that doesn't appear on any Soviet map. Streets, apartment blocks, cafeterias, laboratories, thousands of people. None of it officially exists. You sign documents, a lot of documents. You are not allowed to discuss your work with family. You are not allowed to describe your location. You are not allowed to say who you work for. Your boss is referred to as the chief designer. That's it. Not a name, a title. Some of your colleagues have worked alongside him for years and don't know his real name. This is official policy. The Cold War is everywhere, including inside this building. Meanwhile, in Huntsville, Alabama, a German-born engineer named Wernher von Braun is giving interviews to Life magazine. His face is on the cover. NASA's engineers are public heroes. Their names are in the newspapers. Yours is not. You don't exist, not officially. October 4th, 1957. A signal reaches receivers around the world. Beep. 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 Sputnik 1 is in orbit, the first artificial satellite in human history. America wakes up to the news and doesn't know what to do with it. You were part of that. The calculations, the systems, the ground support. Your work is circling the Earth right now. April 12, 1961. Yuri Gagarin becomes the first human being in space. 108 minutes, 1 full orbit. He lands in a field in the Saratov region, and the world goes insane. The Soviet Union celebrates. Pravda runs the story across the front page. Gagarin tours the world. Khrushchev shakes his hand on television. Your name is in none of it. You celebrate in a cafeteria in a city that doesn't exist. There's something else you know that the world doesn't. In March, 6 weeks before Gagarin's flight, a cosmonaut trainee named Valentin Bondarenko died in a training fire. An oxygen-rich pressure chamber, an accident that lasted 16 hours. He was 24 years old. The Soviet Union buried the information. The world won't learn his name until 1986. You already know it. May 25th, 1961. John F. Kennedy speaks to Congress. I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to Earth. The Soviet response is immediate, officially. Deputy Premier Anastas Mikoyan tells the press that the moon race doesn't interest the Soviet Union. The USSR has chosen its own path. Unmanned missions, scientific probes, practical achievements. This is a lie. You know it's a lie because you are already building the rocket, the N1, 105 meters tall, diameter 17 meters. First stage, 30 K-15 engines firing simultaneously, the most powerful rocket stage ever constructed. Your job, along with thousands of others, is to make all 30 engines work together without tearing each other apart. The Americans are using 5 engines on Saturn V's first stage. 5 precisely coordinated. You are using 30. 30 engines means 30 fuel lines, 30 ignition systems, 30 points of failure, all connected, all vibrating at the same frequency, inside the same steel shell. The engineers see the problem, reports are written, the chief designer reads them, construction continues. By the way, if you're finding this interesting, most people watching right now aren't subscribed. Takes 1 second, helps a lot. Now back to it. January 14th, 1966. The chief designer checks into a Moscow hospital for a routine operation. He doesn't come out. The official cause, surgical complications. The fuller picture, his body had never fully recovered from the years he spent in Stalin's labor camps in the late 1930s. He had been arrested as an enemy of the people. He had survived Komarov. He had come back and built every major achievement of the Soviet space program with his own hands, and the hands of people like you. He was 59 years old. For the first time, his name appears in Soviet newspapers. Sergei Pavlovich Korolev, not chief designer, his actual name. In the obituary, command passes to Vasily Mishin. The program continues. But the people who worked with Korolev, the cosmonauts, the engineers, the people in the cafeteria in the city that doesn't exist, they feel it immediately. Cosmonaut Alexei Leonov will say it plainly years later. If Korolev had lived, we would have orbited the moon 6 months before Apollo 8. February 21st, 1969. The N1 launches for the first time. It flies for 70 seconds. Then the engines begin to fight each other. Vibrations travel through the fuel lines, pressures spike, the system shuts itself down. The rocket falls back. The explosion is visible for kilometers. No announcement. Classified. July 3rd, 1969. The second launch. 16 days before Apollo 11 lands on the moon. The rocket clears the tower. Then, an oxidizer pump catches fire. The engines begin to shut down one by one. The rocket stalls, loses thrust, and falls directly back onto the launch complex. The explosion that follows is one of the largest non-nuclear explosions in recorded history. The launch pad is destroyed. It will take 18 months to rebuild. Neil Armstrong lands on the moon 12 days later. No announcement. Classified. The launch complex is rubble, and the world doesn't know it exists. You go back to your barracks. You don't tell anyone. There's no one to tell, and nothing you're allowed to say. June 27th, 1971. Third launch. 51 seconds. An engine fails. Explosion. Classified. November 23rd, 1972. Fourth launch. 107 seconds. The furthest yet. A fuel line, already damaged, finally ruptures. Kerosene meets heat. Fire, then nothing. You watch the smoke clear over the steppe. You think about the years, the calculations, the documents you signed in a city that doesn't exist. Classified. 1974. No announcement, no ceremony. The N1 program is quietly canceled. The hardware is disassembled. The documentation is locked away. The launch complex is demolished. It is as if the rocket never existed, because officially it never did. Here is where this video is different from every other video on this channel. We can't give you an exact number, not because we didn't look, because the Soviet Union made sure the number doesn't exist in any public record. NASA's lunar program, Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, cost approximately $21.4 billion between 1961 and 1969. That's around $165 billion in today's money. Every dollar was debated in Congress. reported in newspapers, audited and documented. The Soviet space budget was a state secret. It was never officially published. Historians working from declassified Soviet archives after 1991 estimate the total cost at somewhere between $4.5 and $13.7 billion in period dollars. A range of 3 to 1 because even Soviet officials didn't always know the full picture. The N-1 alone. 4 launches at roughly $604 million each in 1985 dollars. That's approximately $7.2 billion in today's money, spent on a rocket that never reached orbit. And then there's Vladimir Komarov. Soyuz 1, April 23, 1967. Engineers submitted reports warning the spacecraft wasn't ready, over 200 known faults. The launch went ahead anyway, scheduled to coincide with Lenin's birthday. The parachutes failed on re-entry. Komarov became the first person in history to die during spaceflight. He knew the risks before he boarded. He flew anyway. Some accounts suggest he volunteered specifically because the backup pilot was Gagarin, and he didn't want Gagarin to die. The Soviet Union gave him a state funeral. His ashes are in the Kremlin wall. The spacecraft's faults were classified. 1989. Glasnost. Soviet publications begin printing things that were previously impossible to print. The N-1 program, the 4 explosions, the lunar race that officially never happened, the engineers who spent careers working in cities that didn't exist, on rockets that didn't exist, toward a goal the state publicly denied. You are retired by now, living somewhere ordinary, and for the first time, you can tell your children where you worked. Not everything, not all of it, but some of it. The United States spent $165 billion in today's money on a race it won and documented in full. The Soviet Union spent an amount we still cannot precisely calculate on a race it lost and then spent 20 years denying ever happened. So how much did the Soviet space program actually cost? We don't know the full number because they made sure we never would. Was it worth it? Drop your answer below, and if you want more stories where history gets a price tag, subscribe to HistoryBilled. Every war has a price tag, even the ones fought in secret.